Podcast activated. Your weekly football fix kicks off now.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok.
Total Red Football Podcast with myself, Kings. Tonight I've got Kev and Matty joining us, and we're going to be looking back briefly at the West Ham game last weekend, which the Reds won 5-2. Obviously, we're then going to look at, let's just say the very sad, rubbish game that was played against Wolves, where they lost 2-1. Lots of fans up in arms, I think, because it just seemed to perceive lack of effort in that game, which is the story of LFC's season, I think. We'll also look at the draw for the Champions League. And again, we're playing Wolves this weekend in the FA Cup in the return to Molineux. So we'll be rounding up that as well and having a look at it. But first off, Kev, how's it going? Nice to see you.
Yeah, all good, mate. Good to be on again. Hope you're all well.
Yeah, doing all right, mate. Doing okay. Matty, nice to see you on. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Life's been very hectic, but yeah, it's good to be back on. Good to talk about the Reds with crap for once. Not good. I think last time I was on, everyone was positive. To be honest with you, Kings. Now everyone's just felt a bit.
Yeah, this is it. It's because you haven't been on. That's the problem. It's all gone tits up now. So
no.
So we will start briefly and look at the 5-2 win against West Ham at Anfield last weekend. I think, Kev, I'll come to you first then about it. And we've talked off air. 5-2 win flatters Liverpool. You know, maybe more of a 2-1 win. You know, it doesn't do West Ham justice, actually, does it? So we all got carried away with the 5 goals, but in reality, it wasn't as it seemed, was it?
Didn't. It didn't feel like an emphatic 5-2, as it should be. I knew we would cost ourselves with individual errors during the game. That transpired, and we left the door open. And luckily enough, we managed to score the 3 goals. Because if we only scored 1, it was 1-1 when Sukek scored. Different type of game. You know, it's down to ourselves, our own individual errors that are costing us. Do you know what I mean? I was even looking at half time, 40-1 for the draw. Someone was virtually tempted to do that. Like, and after 2 minutes in the second half, and you're thinking, could be game on here. Like, do you know what I mean? But it just shows you that if West Ham weren't that poor at the back, I don't think we would have scored those 5 against any other team. So we were lucky that we did. But yeah, it didn't feel like a 5-2 to me. It felt more like a 2-1, as I said. But you know, that's me. But it's just the same old lackluster and individual errors costing us.
Yeah. Matty, the thing is, it builds your hope up, doesn't it? You score 5 goals, you think, right, we're on a bit of a roll here, we're going to be okay. And then, so that game individually probably give you a bit of belief then, did it? Or are you still kind of like, you know what, it's still crap?
I still think it's crap. I remember, because I was in Amsterdam, I remember saying to me missus, we were sat watching it, as you do, you know, you always got to make time for the Reds. And I said to her that's just boring. She went, you're the only person I will come moan after winning 5-2 and say it was boring, but it was boring. We looked rubbish. I'm just firmly slot out, so I just think, I don't think he'll add anything to us. I think we just got to ride this till the end of the year and see what we're like. But I wasn't happy with the performance. The only positive for me, even though we won 5-2, was that McAllister looked like he was back to McAllister levels. I know we'll go on to Wolves, but I think he was all right against Wolves as well, to be fair. So I think McAllister was a shining spark, but I think the 2 goals were very sloppy. So although we won 5-2, I think we still showed defensive frailty, which we've shown all season, and that's the worry. Because the defensive frailty, for me, is coming from Van Dijk.
Yeah, I think when I watched the game, I was like, you know what, this gives me a bit of a boost. And I said to Kev just before we came on air, like, you know, and again we'll talk about the Wolves game, but it gave me confidence going into that. Maybe a bit complacent, thinking, do you know what, we've got 5 goals, bit of confidence up then. But it just seems to be, I don't know, there is something missing from Slot's second season. The first season, everyone goes, oh, you know, it was Klopp's side or what, it doesn't matter. He was in charge of them. He got them ticking over nicely, and of course they ultimately strolled to the league title, which was fantastic. But then this season, just because he's bought new players in, the cohesion, there's no plan. It just seems very slow. Everybody talked about at the beginning, yeah, but you build up and bang, all of a sudden it'll just go. And yet, yeah, they do build up with lots of passing, but there's no bang to it. It's just a slow game all the time, isn't it?
I don't think Arne Slot's a good manager. I don't even think last year yet we won the league, and I think that overshadowed a lot of decisions that Arne Slot made. So for me, last year was Jurgen Klopp's side. And I do think Arne Slot, one thing he did improve from the season prior was the defensive frailty slightly. And I think Arne Slot last year was probably one of the best in the world at in-game management in terms of his substitutions. He could change things. He could adjust games with them substitutions. And I think that was one thing he was good at. But this season, he doesn't know how to make a sub at all. I can't name one time Arne Slot's made a good sub this season. But I think last year, a lot of the reason we won the league is because we were on such a forward-thinking charge at the start of the year, and we made that much ground. Because if you look at the fixtures from last season, from after Christmas, Liverpool were awful. Apart from the day we won the league against Tottenham, we were awful. We weren't playing good football. We looked weak. And obviously, all of us didn't care because we knew we were going to win the league. But when you look back at it now, the season's said and done and we're crap again. When you look at it, we were awful from after Christmas. We were really bad. And that might have been because they were spending time partying because they had pretty much just won the league early and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just think we still... Last year was still Jurgen Klopp's side. Arne Slot just made a few tactical tweaks, maybe that Jurgen was struggling with, and I do think Jurgen towards the end was struggling with defensive side of the tactics. But this year, when he's got rid of players and brought his own people in, I think it's went to pot. Now maybe it's went to pot. I don't rate Van Bronckhorst. I think he was a mad appointment. Don't think he was a good manager. So I don't see why you bring him in as your assistant. And maybe a lot was on Heisinger, but I don't know what's changed. But I don't think Slot is I think Slot would have been a better manager if Liverpool struggled last season. And then this season was another season of rebuild. I think because we were so good when he came in, I think even he was a bit surprised. I think because we were so good tactically, we were so good with everything, he didn't have much to change. And now he's trying to change things. It's not working. But I do think Arne Slot plays boring football, which I thought it was quite ironic that he said the Prem's boring when Arne Slot's version of football is soul destroying to watch.
Yeah, it is. Kev, we've talked a few times about when he came in, if he'd have had one of them seasons where he's just trying to rebuild and then been better this season, you could understand that. That's how it sometimes goes, or mainly goes for the manager. But to come in and win the league, in a way, put more pressure on himself. And it just doesn't seem to be working at all, does it, Kev?
No. And I totally, wholeheartedly agree with what Matty said. Just to add to that, I would say that our fitness levels are nowhere near the levels that they were under Klopp. And that is another significant thing that needs to be looked at. Now, if we're right, and I totally agree with Matty, if you look at last season as on its own, there's times in that season where we don't play very well at all, if we're being perfectly truthful. And as Matty alluded to, and I totally agree with that, but you get lost in it. I think he wins the title and he thinks that's an achievement, but he's at a club where that's the expectation, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's the significant thing. He thinks that's enough, so we'll be fine. That's the expectation of being a Liverpool manager at the minute, and the pressure's on him. And he's brought on himself. He brings. I think Heisinger is was more with the substitutions and the tactics last season, more so than what Slot was. Slot's now an individual now doing that himself. I don't see what Bronckhorst brings to the actual table. I thought he was going to do something similar to what he done at Rangers and bring on Tavernier the way he did. So our right back or our left back would start getting more assists and goals and bombing down. I've seen none of that. It's funny that when with when we do go down, it's not him that he's talking to. He's talking to one of his other coaches. So you think to yourself, well, what are you
Why
doing,
is he
mate?
there? Yeah.
Are you just been getting the coffee for the lads and just sitting down and just enjoying the game on a freebie? Like, do you know what I mean? Because I don't see what he brings to the table. The fact that Heitinger was there and was at Spurs, I understand it away. I'm only thinking that the club have gone, well, we're not investing in this management team any more than what we have. So I think that's why Heitinger then goes to Tottenham. But I think he needed to bring him back to show a bit of, look, I'm trying to do something about it. I haven't seen from this season what formational change he's going to make when everyone's fit. He's got an overload at the top of the field that I'm still waiting to see how you play. And Isaac and Kite and Averts in a system that works well and is solid and compact. I would like to know how flexible he is being with that and how he's going to maneuver that around, because I don't think he's strong enough as a manager to deal with these kind of players that he's now got at his disposal. So there's a lot of question marks that I still have around him for this season. And it's not necessarily one individual thing. It's a multitude of factors that, when added together, is the biggest problem that we've got. And it's only getting worse. And I don't see our club of our size is gambling 120 million that we'd lose out on in the Champions League to see how it goes to the end of the season. That is not a way we should be dealing with this. This should be nipped in the bud and decided now as to how we get played the next 10 games, because that's more paramount. I don't care what happens in the cup this week. He can win 6-7-0 in all the games to the final, win the final. That's not his bearing of what's going to make him stay at this club. It will be the top four and getting as far as he can in the Champions League. Yeah. And that's fundamental. And he has to get to that final. No ifs, no buts. Yeah. So that's where I am with them. But there's a magnitude of issues. But Matty said it eloquently better than what I could.
You're listening to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast.
What I'm going to ask is, which is a maybe a funny one to some fans, is when Jurgen Klopp was the manager, by the time he was leaving, as far as I'm concerned, he picked the players he wanted. Arne Slot's come in as the head coach. I'm sure he gets asked and discussed with what's going on and everything, but he might not have wanted half of these players. And yet he's got to work with them. Do you think that's a factor, Matty, or is it just me overthinking it?
A good head coach can work with anyone of that level. Like,
the amount of money and the talent they've got in is amazing, but if he's got his eye on a particular right back, he could not want this one.
So for me, I think our business was very good. I don't think we should have brought Isaac in when we got Ekitike. They're very similar, and they are saying, well, we lost two strikers, which maybe is fair enough. If you bring in someone, I suppose none of us knew how good Ekitike would probably be, but I'd assume the club knew that. That's what they're there to research. But I think any manager, most managers now are coming a head coaches, so I think they know that anyway. That your Slots and the Klopps and your Peps of the world will die out with Klopp and Pep. And I think that's why Klopp will struggle to go to any other clubs, because he had that at Mainz, he had that at Dortmund, and he had that at Liverpool. But if you put Jurgen Klopp in our side with them players, Liverpool would have won the league by now. And I'm so certain of that. Because when you're deep, who Liverpool have brought in, you've got Frimpong, who for me is an upgrade on Trent. Maybe not in terms of his passing from the back, but in terms of his defensive capability and threat going forward, I do think Frimpong offers that little bit more than Trent. He just can't pass like him. Kirkez has found his feet now, and to me was the best left back in the Premier League last season, and we're starting to see glimmers of that again. Vert, we're starting to see why we spent the money on him. He's going to be. He's like a Philippe Coutinho type player. He will be one of the best number 10s in world football. And then Ekitike's coming in and is probably the sign of the summer in world football. And when you deep it, him, or maybe you could argue like a Rashford or something at Barcelona, who've had such an impact in the club.
Yeah.
But for me, Slot doesn't know, like Kev said, he doesn't know how to handle these players. It's not that the egotistical players, you're bringing in superstars, and I don't think he knows how to handle superstar attitudes. When Isaac's fit in a few weeks, he will put Isaac back in because he's too scared to say, you've got to earn your place, Kev, right? Because when Isaac and Ekatike were fit a couple of months ago, it was Isaac always started when he shouldn't have. Ekatike is the most informed striker, arguably at the minute in the league, potentially the world. He has got to start, and the only way you're going to do it is changing your system. But by doing that, I think maybe the only thing I can think might have went against Slot this year is I think he maybe wants to change to have a 10 with 2 strikers, but to do that, you're pissing Mo Salah off. And I think he's had that conversation with Mo Salah, and that's what caused all that issue with Mo Salah. But I don't think he's a good man manager. Well, I know he's not a good man manager, to be honest. I don't think tactically he's all there. So there's that clip that went round, and there's the reason Curtis Jones has been dropped from the side, where he's saying to Slot, the tactics make no sense. So if you've got a professional footballer telling you your tactics make no sense, that tells you all you need to know, in my opinion. I don't think there is many Dutch managers who are brilliant. Probably Cruyff's the only one in history I can think of, because every Dutch man, I don't like the arrogance. I think it's not even Slot could go on and win the Champions League this year for me, and I still want him sacked. And the reason I want him sacked is I don't like the way he's come across in recent weeks in press conferences. I don't like the way he treated Calvin Ramsey, who, may I add, isn't good enough to play for Liverpool. He's not Premier League level, but you don't come out and say that about one of your players. He's then said pretty similar about Rio Ngamoa, who is probably the most talented youngster in English football, that he's not ready. You try to tell Raheem Sterling that he weren't ready at 17.
Yeah.
Like Rio Ngamoa is a better footballer than Cody Gakpo, and I'll die on that hill. He's a better footballer. But I think Slot has got world-class talent to his disposal. He doesn't know how to use it, and I think that makes him a bad manager. And I do think, although he's head coach, he still has some decisions. Do you honestly think, you look at some of the players he's let go, he didn't like them? So Kwanzaa, he started the first game of his tenure, and he had a stinker, and he never played him since. We all knew Kwanzaa had the capability 100% to be a backup centre-back, and Kwanzaa was happy. If he was still here this season, he weren't going to start over Konate and Van Dijk, and I think he knew that. No. It benefits them going, but it was a ridiculous decision. And I refuse to believe that Richard and Hughes and Michael Edwards have sold Kwanzaa without Slot saying, okay, he can go. I even think selling Darwin Núñez was ludicrous. Okay.
I mean, there is, funny enough, on that subject, I did read for the summer, is it Fulham? I don't know if it was Leeds or something. There's a couple of teams in the Premier League that are interested in bringing Núñez back. And it would be interesting to see if he does come back, how he performs in a different side in the same league.
Do you know, with Darwin Núñez, if we kept Darwin Núñez, Alexander Isak could be the top goal scorer in the Premier League for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Because what you've done with Alexander Isak is, he hasn't looked amazing at Liverpool, but you've went and bought a striker who is one of the best finishers of a football you'll ever see. But at Newcastle, he had wingers, fast, pacey wingers who could do all his running, and he was a number 9. That is what Alexander Isak is good at. He's better than Haaland in terms of he gets more involved in the team play, where Haaland will just stand there. But Alexander Isak and Erling Haaland are a lot more similar as a profile of a striker than anyone you'll come across. We've put him in a side with Mo Salah, who's lost his legs, and Cody Gakpo, who can't run to save his life. I said, do it. Do what you're doing at Newcastle. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And the reason Ekatike looks so much better than Isak is Ekatike's pacier, younger and more athletic to do the running, to get the ball, to make plays, to score his goals.
Yeah.
But some of the decisions, whether it has come from Slot, but I do think he's had a say in it. I really, really do. I think he maybe come to him with a list of players. We can get any of these. He then says, no, I want this person. And that's similar conversations that maybe Klopp had. Now, you think back to when Klopp came in, he didn't have the power he did when Klopp left. Klopp wanted, was it Julian Brandt over Salah or Goethe over Salah, one of them? And the club overruled him. The club overruled him. Now, they actually got that decision right, but I think Slot's got the same power Klopp had 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And one man turned Liverpool around, the other man's dismantling 10 years of work.
Yeah, that seems to be it, isn't it? And so on that, we will morph that into obviously the Wolves chat, because, you know, while we're kind of negative about it all. Well, Wolves beat Liverpool 2-1. Very poor performance by the Reds, Kev, which again we've been saying has been so up and down this season. And maybe after the West Ham game, I said maybe I was a bit complacent. This is me talking myself, thinking, they're the bottom side. They're definitely getting relegated. We really should go there, get the points, keep pushing for Champions League. And it was, to be fair, I'm going to say it was piss poor, wasn't it? Really?
Absolutely. But this wasn't Wolves 2 years ago who were just the atmosphere. The atmosphere suited the way we played, which was lackluster, and very much no one was interested. And it's frustrating and embarrassing that we've actually gone into that game and have lacked the performance, regardless of what you think of XG and all that, and how much possession. I don't give a two hoots about that. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net at the end of the day. So you can have as much as what you want, and you don't get the right. But what I saw last night was a team that was just lacked creativity from start until the 77th minute, when they actually then decided to. Then they score, and then we actually then find a bit of energy. Now, where was that energy at the start of the game? Why didn't we treat that game like that was our FA Cup final? Because that's exactly what they didn't want that. They were looking forward more to, let's get through this the best we can, and let's wait till Saturday or Friday night, because that'll be our game. Friday night under the lights, happy days. We've got more chance of doing that in a one-off game than the league game, and we treated it with, I don't know, with this piss poor attitude that I keep seeing, a lack of energy, lack of fitness. Players playing now, because let's get it right, now going to be playing within themselves because they've got one eye on the World Cup at the end of the season, so they don't want to be going in. So all this is contributing to why we are now seeing this team doing what we're doing. Gappo on the line, taking the ball away from Curtis Jones, is the best defender in the world. It's frustrating to watch. And then who turns it round? Vio comes off the bench and does more in his little cameo than what Gappo's done in 60, 70 minutes.
Yeah,
and
that's the second game in a row.
And that's it doesn't provide me with anything. Their second goal, I'm sorry, but Curtis passed his responsibility over to Alisson, and Alisson with the weakest kick I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
In the middle of no man's land. And then what happens? We then all sit back and go ahead, lad, just have a shot. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't buy a ticket, you don't win the raffle. Took a shot, goes in. But let's have it right. This is not the first time we've seen this happen. We have got, how many? I've actually write it down. There's 4 away games where we've lost in the last minute. Palace away, Chelsea away, Bournemouth, Wolves. 2 we've drawn with Leeds and Fulham, and then City at home. What? Why where's this game management that we had last season? Or so be it, a bit of game management. We've had no game management all season, regardless of what games we've had. We have not had, even against Karabakh, our game management, they looked like Real Madrid in the first 5-10 minutes. We haven't solidly had a good 90 minutes from our team. We haven't got the energy, and I alluded to it earlier. The fitness levels of this team, I have to question what's going on at training, because I don't see this team losing the pressing as much as what we have done. And when we do press, it's only half press. It's 3 or 4 players, and now it's all over the place. It's chaotic, and we've got players that can win us games who are just dying to death because, one, they haven't got the energy because of the fitness levels of our game. How can a team lying 20th in the league outplay us and outrun us in a game? That is embarrassing. I'm not being funny. Anyone should be going into this week and going, right, we'll come away with 2 wins. We'll come away with 3 points in the midweek, and we'll come away. If you're asking me that you will only get 1, the Premier League is the priority. I don't give. As I've said, I do not care what happens on Friday. Now, if we win 4-5-0, I will be embarrassed. That's even more embarrassing. It's the fact that they put in a performance. Then why didn't you put that in the first game?
Yeah.
It's
There'll
not
be a lot
the
of
FA Cup.
scrutiny.
It's not the FA Cup that's going to save you. You can win that 15-0 in every game now to the final. You're not good. That's not going to save you. And it's a risk. And I don't like us gambling the way we are doing. It's like going to the roulette table and just going, right, well, let's put 120 million on or 60 million on red and let's hope it comes in at the end of the season. We can't be doing that.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok.
I've seen a couple of quotes on social media. The first one was lack of tactical clarity under Slot. Liverpool had possession, they had territory, yet genuine attacking cohesion rarely materialised. And the other one said, when you're relying on free kicks and moments rather than patterns of play, you're clutching at straws. Matty, there seems to be a big shift, like we're saying against Slot. I mean, I think I said to Tom in the group chat last night that it's very rare for me now. I'm older and I'm more relaxed about stuff. If Liverpool lose, most of the time, it doesn't mean I'm happy about it, but I can switch it off. I can just switch off from it and go, it's a game of football. I was fuming last night just because of the lack of anything that was going on. It was just like, it was so boring. It was just crap football. And for the first time, it's very rare I want this either, especially in the middle of a season, but I was like, yes, Slot out. I've had enough. And for me to be like that was like, oh my God, even I was surprised myself because I don't do that. But I'm really at that point, and there's lots of others who are now starting to question everything. Like you said, tactically, it's just not happening. And it's like, how do we turn this around? Change of manager.
I just don't think Slot's got the capability to do it. Like, yesterday was the worst Liverpool performance I've seen in as long as I can remember. It was embarrassing to watch. Like, even like Kev said, the fact they scored when we decided to play, that was the biggest indication to me. Now, I've said it for a few weeks, obviously being told as well, like within the club, that he has lost the dressing room and he'd lost it a long time ago. But yesterday, to me, shown how much he's lost that dressing room, because then players were not asked until they conceded. They did not care. And a lot of the fans were scapegoating Curtis, who, to me, didn't do anything wrong. It was Alisson's bad pass for that winning goal. But I think we look shocking defense. He's the only manager who can come in. Yeah, Van Dijk's a bit older, but who else could turn with the best defender you've probably seen in the modern day football into what he is at the minute? It's embarrassing. And I think the only way you can change it, and he's too stubborn. And like Kev said, we're not fit. 75 minutes now, we are done. We are done after 75 minutes. And they don't run off as much as they did with Klopp. But he's too stubborn. He wants a small squad. He got rid of players. You think this season, how many times could a Harvey Elliott come on? He would have made a difference yesterday, Harvey Elliott. You think of Kwanzaa. But then his in-game management just went out the window as well. So it probably was heightened. Like, so yesterday, before the game, I was excited because Szoboszlai was back in the middle. And I thought, we've got our legs back in the middle. But yesterday was one of the first games in a long time that I've watched a Wolves side dominate us in the middle. We were awful in the middle. Absolutely abysmal. Now, I don't know if that... I don't know what it is, because maybe Szoboszlai's better. Because I noticed when Jones came on, he took the 10 position originally and Szoboszlai dropped. So maybe Szoboszlai is better as that deep lying playmaker, similar to like what we've seen with Stevie, and he's not as good in the 10, but I don't know. I think maybe he lost a few brain cells of that monstrosity of an Airclus as well. But I think the only way you can change...
I didn't want to bring it up because I thought I don't want people to think it's just,
Kings,
it's the sour grapes or whatever. But I seen that and I thought, what have you done?
A white
a top flight footballer, prime time TV, millions watching. You've come out with that, and I was like, no, I'm embarrassed just for that, to be honest. So
I was embarrassed seeing it for him, but just the whole performance yesterday was embarrassing with Liverpool Football Club, and it's not like you should still respect Wolves. Wolves can be a dangerous side, but yesterday Arnie Slot got schooled by Rob Edwards tactically. He got absolutely schooled by him. And I don't think we'll win Wolves on Friday either. I really don't. The only saving grace for Friday is Rio's probably going to play instead of Gakpo. And that's where we're starting to see the Dutch within Arnie Slot this season is stubbornness. He will not drop Cody Gakpo, and it doesn't take anyone who knows half a bit about football to see he is not a good footballer. He doesn't. I don't know what he does. If you're a defender, you're marking Cody Gakpo, you're rubbing your hands together because you know he is cutting in. He's got nothing else in his artillery, and I just think the only way that Liverpool can change is with a new manager, and it's sad, but you can see he hasn't got the balls to say anything to players. Mo Salah, thought he was all right yesterday, to be fair, but he's been awful. Won't drop him because last time he dropped him, Salah done typical Salah PR, which he done. You think about when Salah had these straps under Klopp, how they were handled to how Slot handled them. They were handled so differently. But Salah needs dropping. I just don't know the answer. I don't think it's with Slot. Yesterday, some of his decision making was shocking. How can we start the game for the first time in a long time with a right back starting and a right back by nature on the bench, with Joe Gomez on the bench for Frimpong starting, and end the game with Curtis Jones, whose strongest position is probably a 10 or left wing at right back? How's that happen? Yeah. It shouldn't happen, and you can't sit and say, well, the squad's thin, there's injuries, because what's he trying to tell me? If Conor Bradley was fit, he would have played 3 right backs yesterday. We're trying to win a game of football, and you could argue this season, to be fair, that Jeremy Frimpong has probably been one of our best attacking outlets this year, and he's only just come back from injury, but you're bringing him off on 70 minutes to put Gomez on, to then put Gomez centre back. It just makes no sense to me why you'd even do that, and why you'd risk Joe Gomez for 20 minutes. Now I know we need minutes in his legs in order to keep himself fit, but surely it makes more sense to just have kept Joe Gomez fresh for Friday. But then you'll probably see on Friday, he'll probably start Frimpong, Van Dijk, Canate, and maybe Robertson. So it makes no sense to me. It tactically is. Rio comes on too late. I don't know what the poor kid needs to do to start. He's by far our most creative attacking output, bar Ekitike. And Rio is the perfect winger when Isaac's back. Rio should be starting every single week when Isaac's back. If you want the best out of Isaac, you need Rio and Gamola to be playing.
Yeah. We talked about on last week's show that he should start this game, and he should start the West Ham game even. And that's 2 games now since, and he still hasn't started. He'll probably do it now on Friday.
Even if who are we to say things like that? You haven't just had people on like YouTube and stuff like that saying things. You've had people like Steven Gerrard, the club based player, saying this kid needs to be starting. Now I know he's had a questionable manager here, but Steven Gerrard can spot a player when he knows one. And you've even had players like Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher. All these pundits are all questioning why this kid's not starting. And Arnie Slot says we need to nurture him, which is all well and good. Maybe you do need to nurture some talents. But to me, he's not as good as Sterling was at this age. But he's sure as hell the closest thing you'll see to Sterling at this age. We all thought Jordan Ibe might have been the reincarnation of Sterling, but Rio and Gamola probably will be. He's got the potential to do that. So start him. At that age, he's making that much of a difference to your side. You should be starting
him. Kev, are you that still, like I know you've said already, you're not bothered about the FA Cup game? Are you feel that you really don't care about that? It's like Champions League and qualifying for next year's Champions League. That's the be all and end all now?
100%. I'll be honest. I quite like having a trophy at the end of the season. But I know I'll be here next season. He won't be if he just wins the FA Cup. He can't live and put all his apples and pears or whatever into a bag and all his eggs in one basket and expect that by winning the FA Cup, he should be given another season. Look, he's had a club, as I said earlier. It isn't an achievement to win the title. It's an expectation. So with that comes the pressure. Now, other clubs across Europe do this and get rid of managers after they've won a title at the end of the season. Kovac at Bayern Munich, Blanc at PSG, Sarri and Allegri at Juventus. You've also got Capello at Real Madrid. All big clubs have all done it. So, there's no difference. We are a big club. We are at that big table. So I think it'll be an embarrassment to the fans and an embarrassment to the club if we go there and win on Friday night, because the priority was winning last night. So all of a sudden, I don't care if he thinks it's a reaction or he plays the same team. I don't care. That's his free hit. He is using all his, you use the FA Cup as your free hit. That's the one that the fans don't care about. If you win, sad, happy days, we go through.
Yeah. I think if it had been the other way around, if it had been FA Cup last night and they'd have gone, do you know what, they lost and he changed the side of it, and then you go, doesn't matter, the be all and end all is the league game. But because it's now in the league and it's the FA Cup, it's kind of, I can see what you mean.
But Kings, you can't have it the way you want it. You get it the way it's dealt, and you deal with it in the way it's given to you. You can cry and be annoyed at how the fixtures have landed. But let's put this right: we've got 3 away games in the next 2 weeks going into these next 2 weeks that are big for this club. 2 are bigger than the Friday game, and that is Galatasaray away and the league game against Wolves, in which the expectation is we come away with 3 points and we come away with the win in Galatasaray. I couldn't give a toss about the FA Cup. I don't care if we play the kids. I honestly, I do not care, because that's your free hit. That's where you can rest your players. Now, what's he going to do? Is he going to send a message out to the fans that I'm going to get these to play at Wolves, and I will show you how good we are. We can win 8-0 for all I care. It doesn't mean nothing. The embarrassment's already there. So, you know what I mean? So for me, personally, for me, I couldn't give it 2 hoots.
Like and subscribe to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. Matty, what's your thoughts? Do you echo that, or do you want to see it?
Completely and utterly agree, because even so, you'd looked at some of the fixtures prior to us. So like last week went in our favour, this week somewhat went in our favour, and I've just looked at the games now. For example, Chelsea are beating Villa. So if Liverpool would have won last night, Liverpool would be 4th currently. We're now 6th. So Chelsea go above us by winning. So madly enough, obviously Villa winning's better for us. But if results stay as they are and we won yesterday, we would have been 4th because we've got a better goal difference than Villa. And I think Slot is banking on, well, the Dutch love a domestic cup. We know that. If I win the FA Cup, I'll stay. And I don't think he will. My worry is if he wins the Champions League, I think he will stay because they can't sack him after that. And I do think Liverpool have got a chance to win the Champions League this year, which is, you're never going to say you don't want to win a Champions League. I've already got flights and hotels to Budapest. I've got that at the start of the season. But
am I not surprised? Not surprised.
I just don't want. It's mad to say, but I don't think I want us to win the Champions League. I don't want him to stay that much. As much as I want us to win the Champions League again, I don't want him that much, Joe. And I do think Liverpool will win the Champions League this year. I really, really do. And then if we do, Slot's going to say, well, that was my plan all along. We won the Premier League last year. I wanted to win the Champions League. And it's ludicrous. He's just obsessed with the Champions League and PSG. But I'm not going to say no to another Champions League. But he will stay if we win it. And we're going to have the same again next season. And I think it's very evident that we need a manager next year who knows how to create the spine of Liverpool back again. Because next year you're going to lose Mo Salah. There's a very high chance that it's Alisson's last season, Van Dijk's last season. Probably going to lose Konate. Good chance you could lose McAllister in the summer. So your spine's suddenly being ripped apart. You're losing Robertson. So next summer you could potentially lose Robertson, Salah, and Konate as 3 massive leaders, 2 of which are captains of the national team, 2 of which have been there throughout all of our success. And then he thought, on top of that, let's get rid of the only scouser in the team who gets the club a bit more than others. Let's just get rid of him as well, on loan to Inter Milan. It's just bonkers. And I just don't think... I think the fans are done with him because Anfield doesn't boo managers, and we've booed him a few times now. And I do think that that's the writings on the wall. But for what it's worth, I do think Liverpool are going to win the Champions League. So... There's that
Right.
to throw
Well,
into it.
we'll skirt over the FA Cup this weekend then, because obviously it's one of them. Yeah, yes, all clubs like to win silverware, but for what's on offer for Liverpool, you can see on the message along the bottom, they've been drawn against Galatasaray in the Champions League yet again. Played them in the league stages. Obviously lost when we went there. Slightly different this time because over 2 legs, but they are a very dangerous side. First leg away next Tuesday. Early kickoff at 5:45. Kev, what do you think the chances are away there?
Same as every game we play in Champions League. We've got every right to be there, and we've got an expectation to win it. No ifs, no buts. They're not a strong side. They'll have the atmosphere. We've got a silence. That's it. It's plain and simple. Let's keep it simple, not E equals MC squared like we always seem to do with this and treat it bigger than what it is. It's not. But I'm quite happy with who we got. Yeah, we've got all the big teams, but sometimes you got to beat the best to get to Budapest. So that's the way I see it.
Yeah. Matty, what's your thoughts on this game against Galatasaray, or this double header?
I think we need to go and play for a draw, madly enough. Galatasaray, we are more superior than them. Oshinhem is out, which is a massive miss for Galatasaray. But they have only been beat twice this year. Now, people might say, it's only Turkey. It's a tough league. I watch Turkish football week in, week out. Avid fan of Turkish football. It's a tough league. Galatasaray are top of their league after only losing twice. I think Fenerbahce haven't been beat. That shows how well Galatasaray have been performing as well. And I mean, Fenerbahce drew quite a few games, but
yeah.
I think Galatasaray have looked really good, and Fenerbahce have got a good side in Turkey. Like, they've got Ederson from City in goal. They've got a very robust. Yeah, Kev, I've just seen that one there. They've got a very robust robust league, I think, and Galatasaray shouldn't be overlooked. I think we go through because we've got the second leg at home. Obviously, their fans aren't going to be there either. But I'll be honest, I don't even think that the game will go ahead in Istanbul. I think there genuinely could be a chance that gets moved. Because Turkey seems like Iran seems like they're going to go for Turkey next, or Israel's going to go, which is mad, but that's another topic. But I do think we've got to play for the draw over there. It's a tough away. Go over there, snatch a 1-0, play for a 0-0. Play how you did against Wolves yesterday, basically, like you're playing for the draw. And then get it to Anfield and win it there. And I do think, and I can see like Kev saying we've got the harder side of the draw, but I also think that I would have rather Galatasaray on this side of the draw than Atletico on the other side of the draw, because Simeone would have absolutely fucking destroyed Liverpool at the minute. So he would have been out anyway. And then once you beat Atletico, you're going to then get Barcelona, who would also absolutely destroy Liverpool at the minute. And then your best chance you might meet in the semi is Arsenal, who will absolutely destroy Liverpool at the minute. So I think on this side of the draw, we can beat Galatasaray. I think we can beat Chelsea over 2 legs. I think we can beat PSG over 2 legs, because PSG look much weaker this year. Then in the semi-final, you're probably going to face, throwing a curveball, I think we'll face Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
I think that Madrid will knock City out, but Bayern Munich will knock Madrid out. So we'll meet Bayern Munich in the semi.
Yeah.
I think, and I genuinely think we'll meet Barcelona in the final.
They've got Harry Kane scoring for fun, who will score against us just because. So,
yeah,
whichever way is a hard one, at least.
And Luis Diaz will absolutely abuse Liverpool's defense.
He'll have his best game of his career.
Yeah, I do think that we'll win it, and it starts on Tuesday. It's a very, very, very tough away. I think if any of our fans, they will go over, because our fans can get where Buddy Mud and that couldn't go, to be honest. But I do think any fan that makes the trip over to Istanbul, given what's going on in the world, are absolutely crazy. I go to Turkey every year, and I am not going to Turkey this year.
I will just touch on the return leg, which obviously we'll cover at a later date. But myself and Kev talked about this before we came on. That that the fixture is on the 18th of March, but they have said there is no away fans. Kev, we talked about let's talk about your idea. If there's no away fans, what did you say to me before we came on air? What would you like to see then?
I like that. I like those tickets to be, or the majority of them to be given to the community fans, to schools, get the kids going, get those that can't afford to go, those families that we support through the food banks, get them at the ground, build a bit of atmosphere, get the locals in to provide the support that's been missing, and charge them just £9 for the ticket. It's a freebie. Just allow them to come in and enjoy the experience of being at the game. I know a few members will kick off, but I think it's a game that could be. We could do a lot with the community. We could get a lot of kids in there, and it'll be great for them to experience a Champions League night, and families who can't afford to go to the game or have been or can't even watch a Liverpool game, give them the opportunity of going and give them an experience that they'll remember. That's the way I think it should be done. But no doubt it'll be filled with hospitality.
The LFC Total Red Football Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from. Also available on your smart speaker, or you can watch us on YouTube.
Matty, what's your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. Because
I'll be honest, just before you talk, I think it's a great idea. We did talk about it, and I think what a really good gesture that would be from the club, but I can't see it happening.
It also stems the next generation of fans as well. So, it's some relevance, I suppose. So, my dad's dad was a massive Toffee, massive Everton fan. 2-1 City. I'd rather that though, Kev, because
I know exactly. I do.
Well, so like my mum's dad was a massive Red, lifelong season ticket holder, and I probably would have supported Liverpool through me granddad. I was very close to him anyway. But my dad's dad was an Everton fan, season ticket holder, massive Toffee. Now the reason that my dad supported Liverpool is when he was a kid, Liverpool came into the schools and give tickets for free to the kids.
Yeah.
And obviously he went and stood in the old boys' pen, and he went to one game and fell in love with Liverpool. Now a lot of my passion for Liverpool does span from me dad, as much as it's probably more my granddad on my mum's side. Me going to the match with my dad as a kid is what made me fall in love with Liverpool and spend that quality time with my dad. So if Liverpool wouldn't have come and give tickets out to the schools for free when my dad was a kid, there's a very good chance that my dad would be an Everton fan, because his dad was an Everton fan.
Yeah.
Now, whether my granddad could have instilled that his grandkids were all going to be Reds over my dad, who could have been a Blue, we don't know. So the way I look at what Kev's saying is it works, because if my dad wouldn't have went to that game as a kid with the tickets for free off Liverpool, I might never have been a Red, and I might never have seen us win anything, because I would have been a Blue, because you tend to follow what your dad is. So I think it works. I'm not saying invite the kids to change people from Everton fans to Liverpool fans, but there could be kids there who don't really care about football, go to a Champions League night at Anfield and are mesmerised by it. My first ever game was Olympiacos in 2005. Now I know it was a good game to go to see Gerrard score that goal, but that was my first ever game. I was on the cop, I was with my dad, and still to this day, I've been married, I've had kids. It's one of the best days of my life, because I experienced that pure joy of Liverpool getting through to the next round of the Champions League with me dad. The cop was ecstatic. It was one of the best nights of my life. And that all stemmed from me dad getting a free ticket as a kid. That's what made him a Red. So I think it's a fantastic idea, and I guarantee if you sold the Galatasaray and to kids and made like a little mini boys pen at the ground, it'd probably be the best atmosphere it's had in a long time. To be honest, and I think that's what we're lacking.
Yeah, and it's like you say, that can then maybe capture some young kids as fans for life, and that goes a long way. Then further down the line. But
it helps with the kids just going to a game because, like, the
Yeah.
ticketing system for Liverpool Football Club is a farce. It's awful. So someone like myself who's got it's not a season ticket, it's basically season. So I've got a members card with max credits in all competitions. So I'm guaranteed the games every year. But if I want to take my son to the game, I can't buy a dad and lad ticket because he's not on the ladder. So if I want to take him the game, I've got to use my brother's ticket and pay full price to take my little lad to the game. So I'm going to have this dilemma next year when I want to start taking him. The only way I can go to the game with my lad is by me getting another card for myself. At the same time, he has his card on the ladder and we apply for dad and lad tickets.
Yeah.
So what Kev's saying will allow kids to go to the match, probably with the dads as well. Because if you are a fan who goes week in, week out, you can't take your kid that game unless you want to sacrifice your own tickets. Even the same as season. Kev will tell you, he'd love to take his lad the game, can't. If Kev wants to go to the game with his lad, he's going to be sat in the upper main stand in the back row, or he can go on his own seat. And it's like you don't want to take your lad to up in the gods in the worst stand in the ground where it's just full of arseholes. You want to take him to a bit of atmosphere and enjoy the game.
My son only got to one game last season, and that was Tottenham at home.
See?
And that was because about October time, the lad who sits next to me said to me, "Do you mind if you move?" And I always move because he takes his young little son with him, and he gets a ticket like 4 or 5 rows ahead of me. And he's young, and I went, "No, that's fine." I said, "I'll do you one better." I said, "You're over for Kimbo." I said, "You can have the Boxing Day game." I said, "But you give me a game." I said, "Don't exchange money, but we'll just a ticket." And he went, "Well, the next game I've got is Tottenham at home." We didn't know what was going to happen. And he was true to his word, and that was the only game I could get my son to. It's difficult because I've got my own season ticket. I can't just leave my season ticket. I've got to go to at least 15 games a season.
Is that the rule? Will they stop you? Because I know there's talk of Man City doing a similar thing if they're not already, but I think theirs is a lot less. They said maybe 5 or 6.
Season ticket that members cards. I have to go to 17 games a year. I can only drop 2 tickets, or I lose all my credits.
Wow.
So my season ticket will be under serious thing. If I don't go to at least 15 home games, and they have to be Premier League games. It can't just be a mixture of FA Cup or Champions League. They've all got to be 15 Premier League games. So
if you want to go with your son, it's impossible.
It's near impossible because I've given 4 tickets away this season. So I can't give it me ticket out any more than what I have. So that means I'm jeopardising my son trying to get to a game this season. But
if you had something like you've just said, though, Kev, if someone said to you, you can swap your season ticket for that game and go in there and have the option to add your kid on to come with you, I can guarantee there'd be a waiting list to get into it.
Oh, honestly, but these all these like this isn't something that I've just. This is something that the club should be looking at. Do you know what I mean? It's frustrating that fans have to come up with these ideas that the club could be doing, and especially for a part of the ground where it's going to be empty. I'd rather see young fans there, and as Matty said, build a little boys' pen, and just get them in there and just causing all mayhem. It'll be boss to watch. Be great to see on all these kids at the games. Families being able to take their kids and enjoy an experience that they may not be able to afford. That's the way it should be. Do you know what I mean? We've built on this ethos, and we had our best managers are built on this ethos, and I don't know why we don't do it more, because it's the only way that we can grow as the support even further and build another generation into it, which is something that other clubs can't do. We've got the history, we've got the generational thing as well, and that's what's needed. And it'll be great, but I know the club won't do it. But
it'll be just because people to go with the mates.
Exactly.
I only started going the match with one of my. I sit next to my brother, but one of my mates only just got onto the 13 plus for this season, so I've only just been able to go to the game with one of my mates. So that just shows where it's a farce, really. So I know Richie, He's got a members card like me, enters every ballot, and I think last season he got 2 games.
Yeah,
all
I'll be honest.
season.
Yeah, none members ticket this time. None. My brother's got none this year. It just it's so hard to like start on the ladder. That's the
But even if they're not going to give them tickets to kids, though, Kings, they should say to people like yourself and like Richie, who are paying the membership every year, not getting any games, just getting the ability to enter a ballot. That's where the club should turn around and say, all these extra tickets we've got for this Champions League game should be given to fans who are members, registered members, who are registering in the ballot who have not attended the game this season. They should be the first priority for that game. And the ticket system is mad, absolutely mad. So like, I've been trying to build a card up for my son this year in Europe. It's the only thing that I need to build up before I can get him in with me. And this year I've had every game for him apart from Real Madrid, which just shows that like even Atletico and that. And obviously I just get them and like give them to a friend or a cousin, and that's just because I'm building his credits up. But it's so hard to get a ticket. It's so hard to get on ladders because the club would rather sell them to others. And I know there's been 2 fellas done, hasn't there, from the club who were touting tickets up. The club are the biggest touts there is. Liverpool Football Club are the biggest touts there is.
Yeah. Kev's mentioned this before. It's the way they do things with they'll sell a standard seat as hospitality, and then you end up just in a random seat somewhere. And it's like sometimes and it's not just Liverpool, to be honest. It's all clubs. I can't say all. That's not fair. A lot of clubs do this. You pay a membership, you don't get a ticket. So they're raking in money left, right, and centre just for having a chance to get a ticket. And then when you do get one, it can be changed to hospitality, so it's triple the price, quadruple the price, whatever. But
they'll never change. And do you know what? I'm all for people making a quick buck, but it's sad because a lot of our fans are part of the problem as well. So when we played, it was not West Ham because I was away. The home game before that, I can't remember who it was now. I'm in the cop this half of the season. And the row in front of me, some fella came up at half time and got 12 phones. And out of them, that whole row of people, right, not one of them sang. Not one. So that's 12 tickets. How many people are doing that? Now, I'm all for people making a quick bevy.
Yeah.
But I know the people who bought them tickets off that fella paid £200 each because I was speaking to them at half time. So that's part of the problem as well.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to be fair. When I've had chance over previous seasons, and people have used the phone, obviously, and I've gone in, I've paid face value. I've never actually been ripped off so it just depends who you know, I suppose. But some people are that I won't pay extortionate prices. Now people will say, "Well, you're missing out," and it's like, yeah, but at the end of the day, as somebody, I'm not rich, so I can't afford to pay £200 for a ticket. Do you know what I mean? Even if it was the Champions League final, well, it's different. But do you know what I mean? For a regular Premier League game or whatever, you can.
It knocks me sick how fans can do that to fellow fans.
Yeah,
I've never charged more than face value for tickets, even for final tickets. If
I can't go, tickets on the past face value.
Exactly. Yeah. You just look. It's the way it is. We don't help ourselves as fans, as Matty quite rightly said, but we don't help ourselves when it comes to surveys as well that the clubs send out. Because what we want to do is we want to get into that exclusive club. So what we'll do is we'll rip up what's already gone before, so I can get in, and then they don't realise then that, oh shoot, what have I done? Because you've just ripped up everything, all the terms and conditions that we had, so that you could get yourself in. And now we're all in this, all under this umbrella because you wanted the season ticket, and it's farcical. There's no right or wrong answer to it, and the worst thing is you're not going to please everyone. If the club or the fans think that there's something out there an idea that everyone can listen to and agree with, it's not, because everyone's in their own little exclusive club.
Yeah,
I'm in the season ticket club, and I know what I can and can't do. I feel sorry for people who have to go on like Matty has to do and go on to the other, to go on the club website, which is just ridiculous for tickets anyway, and put yourself in ballots and know what dates they are as well for certain games. It's frustrating.
Like a full-time job. So
It is.
So I got every credit. Like, obviously, I'm doing it again now for my son, but it is like a full-time job. And you will sit on that stadium map refreshing for a week to get a crap little ticket in the top of the main stand just to try and build your points up.
Yeah.
But what the club should do is, in my opinion, I think they should bring back the boys' pen. I think that's what reignites the atmosphere at Anfield.
The only thing is, though, Matty, right? I totally agree with you, right? But what happens when those kids become adults? So when they get to 18, then what happens? And that's where the problem is that how do you keep those kids who are now adults to be able to join and carry on? Because we're all for the kids. I'd sacrifice 4 games a season if I knew a kid was getting that ticket. Do you know what I mean? And I know there'll be plenty in the cop that will do the same. The problem is when they get to 18, what happens then? Do they just fall off the cliff and join the back of the queue like everyone else does? I don't know what the right or wrong answer.
The only way I can think of it is probably by the time kids are turning 18, there's enough that season who's probably passed away. But then when people pass away, so years ago when my granddad passed away, my brother could change the season ticket to him. So he's got my granddad's season ticket. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, I think JK said that before on a previous show. He wanted his granddad's ticket and they wouldn't let him do it.
And you know what? You can just not tell the club, but when they get to like 100, that's when they write.
I was going to say if they actually did an audit, not just at Liverpool, probably quite a few of the, especially the top sides, they probably find some of them people maybe 120 now.
Yeah, there'll be a fair few. Like we changed my granddad's because my brother's friends were people on the supporters board, and they had said it was coming, so we were quite lucky. Who then told us like that, look, this is coming, so we changed it. But you can't change the names anymore, so you seem to dies with you. Which I in some aspects I think, well, by doing them dying with you can maybe bring back the boys' pen and do that way. But in other aspects, I'm like, well, your season ticket should be passed on. That's what Liverpool's ethos is. It's passed down through the generations. So it's just there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah. One thing I know for certain is though that the club definitely tout their own tickets off, and some of the fans who come in aren't fans and they come to experience Anfield. A few last season, there was someone in front of me, Chinese fella. He was a nice fella, but he was a Man United sliders. And when questioned why he came to the game, it went viral on Twitter. I remember seeing it all over Twitter. When questioned why he came to the game, he said, I just wanted to experience Anfield. And that's the only problem, because Liverpool are, in my opinion, we're the second biggest club in the world behind Real Madrid. But if you went to Madrid on holiday, you're probably going to go and watch Real Madrid.
Well, yeah,
and that's what people do. That's what people do at Liverpool. And unfortunately, Real Madrid has got a stadium twice the size of ours. They can afford tourists coming in. Liverpool haven't.
Yeah, it's. I got to be honest. Obviously, we didn't expect to diverse off in talking about the ticketing situation and maybe having a boys' pen for the Galatasaray game. I hope the club do something like that Kev suggested. So if they're watching this, take Kev's advice on board. And
they definitely won't, Kings. There'll be tickets. There'll be tickets going for £55 on in the next few days.
We shall see, obviously, on Friday what happens in the FA Cup, and we'll be back on obviously next week to talk about the Galatasaray game. I want to say massive thanks to Matty and Kev for coming on and sharing their thoughts. And I'm sure maybe even in the international break that's coming up at the end of the month, we can maybe go on to this ticketing thing more, and we can talk the whole episode on it, because there'll be no football as such. But thanks, lads, for chatting tonight. It's really appreciated. Anybody that's watching, please like and subscribe on YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify and Apple, etc., and wherever you get your podcast from. So again, please like and subscribe to them. And we'll be back again next week with another episode.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for more LFC Total Red Football Podcast.